Science is the great antidote to the poison of enthusiasm and superstition. Hi, I'm Juliette Sellgren, and this is my podcast, The Great Antidote. Named for Adam Smith, brought to you by Liberty Fund. To learn more, visit www.AdamSmithWorks.org. Welcome back. Today on August 27th, 2025, I'm excited to host two people that might seem like unlikely guests to pair together, but I'm really excited and I think it makes a ton of sense. So I hope that you enjoy as well, dear guests. Today, we're going to be talking about common sense economics and the Economics Olympiad, two kind of different but kind of related, important interventions in a sense, but also not, in the education of young people in economics, something that we all think is super important. And to do that, I'm bringing on Martina Bacik, who is the CEO and founder of the Economics Olympiad. She started it when she was just 21, so we'll get into how that happened and what it even is and why it's so important. And Tawni Ferrarini, who is one of the authors of Common Sense Economics and who has come on the podcast multiple times before. I'm excited to bring them both together today because their insights are going to help me and us understand why economics education is so important, how we do it, and how it's actually impacting young people right now as we speak. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Juliette.
My first question for the both of you before we get fully into the topic is, what is the most important thing that young people should know that we don't?
Martina, I'm going to let you start because I'm just so inspired by what you're doing.
Oh, thank you, Tawni. That's so nice. I'm curious about what you have to say. Yes, I think the most underestimated one, it's, I think, obvious when you get older. And it's the people you go to school with, the people you surround yourself with when you are young. It's very impactful because they really, some of them stay with you, some they don't. But the networks you create as a young person and the people you surround yourself with are the future leaders, the future contacts, the future people you will have around as friends. And it's so important, I think, to get yourself networked with the people you actually like and with whom you grow together. So find people you like and who can get you places if you're just in the career path.
And from the common sense perspective, a group of authors inspired primarily by Jim Courtney, who just so happened to be blind, wanted to impart knowledge and give it to individuals who thought that economics was inaccessible and maybe too compact with jargon. And so hence the title, Common Sense Economics, what everyone should know about wealth and prosperity, because each individual has the power to bring themselves to a new space. They can make themselves better off, but they also have the ability to bring a lot of other people along with them. And I think that's at the heart and soul of a lot of young people right now, is that they want to make a difference. And so we impart the knowledge through common sense economics, give them skills that they would otherwise not have or they want to hone. But then we do things, partner with organizations like Economics Olympiad, so that you can put the boots on the ground and you can make a difference through a competition that ignites even more excitement about the topic and the power of economic thinking.
So you're leading us right into it. You guys know each other through the Economics Olympiad, which, Martina, you started. Before we get into your story of how that came to be, can you tell us about what it is, the reach, both of your current involvement with it? I know that there was just the final round was held in Athens, and that there was a surprisingly young, I think for someone my age, I feel like it was a crazy age to win the gold medal at, but also maybe not surprising given what we believe about the power of economics and the power of education. So can you bring us into the fold on that?
Yeah, so we did have the international final round in Greece. It's even better than Athens, I would say, because it was in ancient Olympia, which is the birthplace of the ancient Olympic Games. So we have our indoor retreat center, like few hundred meters from the old ancient Olympic stadium, the monuments and everything. So it's that this place is magical, I would even say, because it really draws students and everyone into the Olympic spirit and competing and being at the same time fair and being a teammate. And really, this history of the place, I think, has a lot to do with how people feel at the event. And at the same time, so the students, they are like, every year, they are like mind-blowing stories. And we never had anyone this young win the International Economics Olympiad. The winner was in 10th grade. Which is, it's when he came on the stage, I was like, wow, he even looked like he's 12, 12. So it's like among all these, like 19 years old, 18 years old, it was just like everyone was like, wow. So I think a lot of the students for next years, they have a lot to be afraid of from, this guy, because he was like really, he will be probably participating for the next years to come for many, many years. So everyone should be worried.
Yeah. And then just to kind of play off of that is he's a rising 10th grader. And so potentially he could be in the Economics Olympiad 3 more times. So watch out, everyone. But I also find that very inspiring, because what we can do as a group and with this program and through different books and competitions is we empower these young people to move outside of the confines of the classroom. And they can be self-motivated to bring this knowledge into their lives so that they can actually make more strategic decisions, both in their monetary lives, but most importantly, in the non-monetary aspects of their life, which is just incredible.
So what does the actual competition look like, right? So this was the final round, but how does it go from its beginning, right? You enter into this competition to there's a finalist, and what does each round look like? What type of questions are they answering and problems are they grappling with? What does it look like to be a participant, a competitor?
Yes, so in each country, we do have a national organizer that knows their educational system, but it's really standardized. But they adjust it to the language and in the further rounds, even to the kind of cultural, like economic topics that are there in a specific country. But it starts in the beginning, it starts in school rounds. We did have this year a record of 120,000 participants in the Economics Olympiad from over 5,000 schools worldwide. So these students, they participated, all of them, in the school round at their school, supervised by the teacher, filled in the multiple choice test, where we actually put really interesting questions referencing pop culture. For the fans of Star Wars, I can drop one which we already took out from the test years ago, which is Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Jedi. They want to split Leela and Luke to the other parts of galaxies for the Empire not to find them and kill them. Well, how would an economist call this Obi-Wan Kenobi action? And the answer is differentiation of risk, right? But the thing is, we wanted students to who never were in touch in economics. So we really want them to get excited and interested and ask more questions. So after the test finishes at schools, the students, they talk to their teacher. They talk between each other about what was this? What did you fill in there? Oh, what was the answer to that question? And they started to talk economics basically. So that's kind of our goal in the school rounds. The best ones from the school rounds go to the region rounds. Some countries, they don't have them because the Olympiad is either too small or the country is too small. And then there is national round. Which is the national, top 5 from all the country. The best ones, they come to this venue and compete. For top 10, there is all around. So there's a committee that, they would be in front of. And out of these 50 finalists, top 5 go to the international final round, which we just had. So there were top 5 students from 29 countries.
Wow. And I want to hear both of your kind of reflections on this, because you were both there, but it's going to be different because, Tawni, this is the first time you went, whereas Martina, you've been here since the beginning because it is your project. So what was it like? What was the energy like? What was it like to see students who had been working for this for a while now, kind of showing off their skills and really honing in the economic common sense state of mind?
Well,
Yes,
if I may,
you were a committee member, so you got them firsthand. So I would be very
yeah,
curious.
it was just the energy level was unbelievable. And these students, I'm an economics professor, so it's unusual to have so many students excited about macro, micro, international economics, and practical personal finance. And here they were working with us. They'd approach us for some help, all of the people, the experts there. But they were leaning in and helping each other across countries. And they had these common spaces where the students from places that, defined the different countries by some war, but yet all of that was set aside. And it became this immersion of different cultures, this exchange of different morals. It was just everybody was concentrating on economics, but so much more was taking place. And that I found extremely exciting. And then this is, a part of Martina's life, and the organizers who helped put this together, they expected this. I did not expect the enthusiasm or the excitement or the commitment to not only helping themselves, but helping each other prepare for the essay. There's a short essay part, there's multiple choice, and then the top 10 go on to the orals. And it was magical.
Martina?
Oh, I'm sorry. So for me, I see it through the lenses of the young founder occasionally still. So I'm just oscillating on that event. I was oscillating between being completely baffled with what we created as a team, and very humbled. And I'm like, wow, what the I couldn't grasp it,
Mm-hmm.
And then I was kind of the other part of me was like business as usual, This is so I was like oscillating between the two of these mindsets of wow, this is incredible. How possibly did we create something so big? And then the second part, business as usual, that's what we do. Just this is a student, there's no tests, so yeah, it was interesting for me personally, because as Tawni said, the atmosphere there was remarkable. The students were super talented and working very hard to prepare at the same time. The national organizers from the countries we are in, they were so excited for the project. And yeah, it just made me so happy to see everyone.
Yeah. What's astonishing about this to me, and what I think really I want to take a moment to think about, is the scope of this. It is huge. So if you don't mind, Martina and Tawni, if you know these, just telling us some stats about so you told us a little bit about how many students are reached, but how many countries do people come and watch? How has it grown over the past couple of years? And how's it going?
Yeah, so I can start with the overview at the end, Tawni, if you want to add something, I would be very, very excited. So I started the Economics Olympiad in the Czech Republic in 2016. And we had 4,000 students, 4,300 students, which was from 103 schools, which is way more than I expected. So we literally opened the registrations, and we had to close them in 2 weeks because we were just expecting 50 schools maximum. We're ready for 30, and we already got 100. So we stopped the registrations after 2 weeks, and we ended up having 103 schools. So yeah, and since then, I thought okay, that's much more interest than I thought. And So Slovakia reached out and they wanted the Economics Olympiad there as well, and they wanted to do it the same year. So I told them to wait for the next year because I don't even know whether this, is a good idea. And they reached out even before we had a proper website. We didn't have any website. It was just a Facebook page, and the website was under construction. Not even So it was very early. So the next year we went to Slovakia. The next year we went to Hungary, and the year after that we went to 3 more countries. Greece, Bosnia, China, and Poland joined just for the international one because they already had an Economics Olympiad there. And then it went kind of fast, I would say. So exponential, really, because then FE came, which is Economics Fundamentals Fundamentals Initiative that translates the Common Sense Economics book to native languages in mostly Central Asia, and they came with their partners who already translated the books and who were interested in organizing the Economics Olympiad in their country. So that year we grew 11 countries a year. So from 7 countries we grew to 18. And yeah, it was really hard, honestly. Like we were like all for it, but this year was like it was really fast growth, which we handled, but it had some pains. And after that we are stably growing. I would say 10 countries a year. We are planning on keeping that and maybe even more because now we have the infrastructure and operations to really open as many countries as we want. So anyone interested from other countries who will be listening, reach out if you're interested to participate or really to have Economics Olympiad in your country if you don't have any, or working together in any way.
Or even to support its growth in the United States, because that is actually on the radar. And we've got a group of individuals who we want to do it. We want to do it well, and we want to do it in a way that complements a lot of the other things that are going on in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I wish my high school had this. I'm literally going to reach out to them after this and be like, "Hey, did you know that this exists? You should do this."
But it's not just in the classroom. Please reach out to the schools. But I think it's also important to encourage the young people that this is something that they can do without a classroom. They just grab a copy of Common Sense. They can go through their school competition. If they don't have it in their school system, they can enter the global challenge, which I think is a brilliant move on the Economics Olympiad part, because there may not be a national country partner in the country of the student. So there are many options in home base for anyone interested in this, supporting it, participating in it, getting their schools involved is the Economics Olympiad website.
Yeah, we'll spread the word. That's awesome. Tawni, I wanted to ask a little bit, because of the partnership between Economics Olympiad and Common Sense, how is Common Sense doing? I mean, I hear it's getting translated into all sorts of languages.
Yeah, and we're working on, so we have a strong presence in Eastern Europe. We're going viral there, Central Asia. Now we're working on some important relationships in Latin America. So our hope is to grow the program there. Of course, we believe in the Economics Olympiad, so we want the boots on the ground and the practical aspects of it too. So stay tuned. And the best place to get more information about Common Sense Economics, which is now in its 4th edition, is at the Common Sense Economics website. Great.
So Martina, how did you get started with this? I mean, it's kind of remarkable, the reach and the fact that this kind of came from your brain at one point. I mean, it's a testament to human capacity and potential. So what inspired you and how did your journey kind of take shape?
Juliette, you're way too kind. It was, I think, honestly, it was just kind of, for me back then, it was kind of my no-brainer because I did biology Olympiads forever since primary school, high school. I did like biology Olympiads, forever. And I attended summer schools on biology, were in touch with people at universities, attended biology courses. So I was like super in, on biology. And I spent like all my free time like doing it. And then actually I went to a biology high school and I got a really bad teacher. Looking back, he was like really burned out, maybe had some like other issues, and he really didn't care about the teaching profession and was super unfair. He didn't even read the tests, and I was like super frustrated, so I kind of burned out because I tried really hard and it was impossible. So back then I got a textbook in my hand, which was a recommended reading from the social science class, which I usually never read. And actually, like, because of this textbook, I fell in love with economics. And without this textbook, I don't think, the Economics Olympiad would exist. So that's why I like so much the synergy with common sense economics as well, because I know how important this could be for a student at the right time to get something to be passionate about. And economics, you can get really lost in it, like in a good way, right? You have all these economists, all these concepts, things are changing all the time in the economy. So you can like put your mind into it, And so there is a lot to learn. There is a lot to think about and kind of let your brain loose, in this. So I really enjoyed that. But like at my high school, there was no economic, options. We didn't even have like a proper economic course. There was no infrastructure for studying economics, so no contact with universities, no summer schools, no courses on economics. So I really was like lost these years, as a student. And when my first startup failed, after I started working in an investment bank, then I had a very short startup period, and the startup failed. So I was then like, okay, what am I going to do next? And this was a no-brainer because I always wanted to do it. I already planned how to do it in high school, but I couldn't because it was just too hard to, do without like proper contacts, without proper plan, without proper experience. So after that, I just started working on it, and I felt confident about it, maybe too much because it wasn't as easy as I thought, obviously, which you would have guessed. But that's kind of the story of the Economics Olympiad.
So something that's striking to me and that I've spent a decent amount of time thinking about and that we even touched on before we started recording is the fact that high school is the age. I mean, you mentioned that you had so many years lost because you kind of realized a little later than you would have liked. And then this is focused on high schoolers, but in college, you have a ton of courses, you have a ton of access to economics. Why is high school the time? I think most people would say, well, we have it in college because that's when you have the enough sense, or I don't know. Why is high school the age when it's important? Why is that what both of you focus on? It maybe in addition to college, because Tawni, I know you've spent a lot of time educating at the college level. So why high school? Why so early instead of a little later? And why not earlier?
Well, and as an economic educator, that's where I was going to go. We lean on specialists who bring it into preschool, kindergarten through 12th grade. So the focus here is high school, but high school is foundational. I mean, it's one of those places where you learn about life outside of the classroom. You're gaining your independence, and you realize that your frustrations provide opportunities for you to do something about the frustration. You can let it consume you, or you can address it and do it in a way that helps close a gap for you personally. But as Martina did, what she did is she closed a gap, a deficiency in her school, by creating a program that not only helped her and her fellow students in her school, but now she has this explosive program, the Economics Olympiad, that's going around the world. And it's helping young people everywhere. So this is at the heart of one of the elements of prosperity for all of us in this modern world, and that's entrepreneurship. Both of you are entrepreneurs, and both of you are educational entrepreneurs, which I think is wonderful. And so you don't have to lean on others to solve your own problems. You can actually be the problem solver, and you can innovate and create in ways that are imagined. But most importantly, with the two of you sitting right here, and I'm just so excited about tomorrow in the future because I see it's bright, and I see that even with the swirl of political and social uncertainty, especially in the United States, we have many, many reasons to be thankful and hopeful about tomorrow.
That's so true, actually. Like all of our partners who come to the final round, the national level and then the international, they just come and they leave smiling. You know, like we call it the final round smile. We have actually a name for it in the Czech Republic, because it's so the people, the adults, they feel so positive about the future, and like the students are not only bright and smart and talented, they are also like good people. They are like really nicely competitive. They care about stuff. They care about the future. They care about, and it's like, it's so calming to their souls that there is like future ahead of us, which is in hands of these people, which I find fascinating but like funny, it's really like, it makes me happy that we can like brighten the day like that, because the Economics Olympiad, it was always wanted to target it. That you ask about why high school students, and I always wanted to target it not just the few talents, but I wanted everyone to participate, everyone from high schools, like even the kid who would never apply to participate in the Olympiad because they don't feel like good enough for it, they don't feel talented enough, because a lot of times economics, it's a common sense science, and usually the student who teacher would never recommend for an Olympiad. Sometimes, a lot of times actually, they find a calling because they don't know they were good at this. They actually thought that they weren't good in learning at all. And they, with economics, because of Economics Olympiad, a lot of them, they found a passion for something, passion for economics, but also a lot of times passion for learning in general, because they needed this extra thing to really focus on. And that's what biology did, the biology teacher and biology did for me back then. And that's what the Economics Olympiad is doing for, I would say, thousands of students now.
In addition to recognizing the different medalists, the students, they also have an award for the most inspiring teacher, and then they have a national organizer award. So they celebrate and they recognize the importance of having those teachers that she just described involved. But then there's also those country organizers. It's a heavy, heavy burden to put this on any organization, but people find a way. And so we just want to recognize and thank them as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's great. I mean, it sounds in a way like the competition and the existence of this sort of incentive to learn and to flex your skills and to try something new that comes in the form of the Economics Olympiad. It also ends up being a celebration of not just economics, not just learning, but of honestly like human effort. And what's shocking to me, not shocking, but it brings up this thing that I've been having a hard time with recently, which is the fact that I think adults are so much more cynical than young people, even though adults have seen like life be fine. And so, I don't know, both of you have seen it and have experienced it. Seeing the young people engage in this sort of thing and learn and get excited brings smiles to everyone's faces and kind of brings hope. So how are we as educators and as people who are supposed to be bringing this inspiration and this hope, right? Like Martina, your biology professor, who is the reason you started doing Olympiads in the first place as a student. If adults are being so cynical, and that actually this sort of educational environment and excitement is what brings hope and positivity and optimism in a world that's full of cynicism, how are we? It's kind of a weird question that's not really a question. This is the thing that brings hope. But also adults happen to be more cynical, at least I think, than young people. So how do we even inspire educators who are probably more cynical than the youth to actually take that step into inspiring young people. Because the thing is, when I was younger, I didn't think any of my teachers were cynical. But now that I'm a little older, I see that a lot of people are really cynical. And I don't know if that's just the state of the world currently, if educators are special and that they're actually not cynical because they're surrounded by young people every day. Like, what's going on here?
Well, I mean, I mentioned it earlier when we talked about this world of political and social uncertainties, especially in the United States. Sometimes it really weighs down what happens in the classroom, and understandably so. But as Martina has explained, the student doesn't have to be shackled by what's happening in the classroom. He or she can go out and start gaining knowledge and confidence and bring it back into the classroom to inspire the teacher to change. Because really what happens here, and this is Tom Palmer's wisdom, is that when you're focusing on economics, you're looking at the advantages and the beauty of trade, not war. You're looking closely at what are the elements or the fundamental underpinnings of prosperity, and how can you battle poverty, not through relying on this external third party that we call government. Just like, markets, governments fail. And right now people are just overwhelmed with all of the, again, political uncertainty and the battles between governments. This focuses on what we're doing here is the power of the individual and the value of getting and using critical reasoning to understand the world and to think about what it is that you can do in your own life to empower you to make sound decisions. Again, I repeat this over and over again, that they benefit you, but the world is not just about me, and I. It's about we, and us. And economics provides a clear path on how it is that through entrepreneurship, by honing your skills, getting a comparative advantage in something through trade, again, not war, you can advance your own position in life. But again, you improve the lives of so many others. And that is the beauty of economic thinking.
I so agree with Tawni. Also, from a different perspective, I think it's for teachers, I think it's really hard not to burn out at some point, because I think the environment is kind of set up against them. The teaching profession is like not appreciated at all. They are mostly hated. The parents, they care about a lot these days about the education of their kids usually, but they really want. They really want to have a word about how the kids should be educated, and even the teacher who comes to school and really means well, they really want to be active teacher, supporting students, doing the best things for them. They come to the school and the environment there is a lot of times set up against them. The school management, the administrative work overload, which they didn't come to do there. They actually came for the kids, right? The parents, who don't appreciate them, the society that doesn't appreciate them, the low pay that they have to live on. Yeah, it's a combination of things, and a lot of times the students, they are teenagers, so they don't know better, but they are usually the ones who appreciate them the most. But imagine, yourself as a teenager. I imagine myself as a teenager. I wasn't appreciative. I was I was just. So it's just. I think a lot of the environment is kind of set up against teachers, and they really tend to burn out. And what happens when people burn out? Yeah, they get cynical and they stop caring. And usually, the most active, the teachers who came with the best intentions, they burn out the fastest.
And there are initiatives now and this is great. It's a compliment. The students who, can empower themselves, but you also have the teachers who can enter a program and bring the Economics Olympiad into their classrooms. But we also have teacher trainings and we have student boot camps. Martina referred to those when we first started talking. And not only do we teach the content or the subject matter, but we also bring in innovative ways to inspire the students, meet them in their preferred multimedia spaces, and use the tools that work alongside the students in their interests, but at the same time, we help them hone their critical reasoning skills.
I love that. Again, I wish I had all of this. And in a way, what common sense and what the Economics Olympiad is doing is it's lightening the load a little bit for teachers, right? If all you have to do is focus on what's in the classroom, and really there are opportunities outside, whether it's a book that simplifies things that either you can read or you can give to students, or you can say, go participate in this if you want to learn more. That's it. Really what it's doing is it's diversifying the workload between multiple different sources and people. So maybe it even decreases the burnout, because it says, if you want to learn more, I'm just one person. This group is doing something really cool that you should do. So I appreciate that you guys are doing what you're doing, because I don't know. At my high school, my economics teacher was also the history teacher, was also the other thing teacher. And I think that happens a lot, especially at the high school level, where either teachers are just stretched kind of thin between subjects. And that's good in a way. You have interdisciplinary lenses and stuff. But the energy is not always there, because it can't always be there. And so I think, in a way, humans are not, I think economics gets blamed for this, but common sense teaches us that this is not actually how it works. We're not just cogs in a machine, and neither are teachers and neither are humans. We're a very specific type of input into any sort of production process, which is why we can have people like Martina who are having these ideas and bringing things to life, and Tawni, who's translating ideas into very simple terms for people to understand and use in their everyday lives. And then this group that is translating it into all these different languages so it's actually accessible. In a way, it's kind of creating this net. I'm like visualizing a catapult that's like pushing us into the future, but not just us, by elevating young people. So kind of before we start to close on this idea, if you agree with the way I've just visualized this, and maybe if you haven't, offer your own. What can we do? What have you both learned in working with young people and kind of communicating these ideas and inspiring this love of learning and economics and knowledge? What have you learned, and what can we do better in teaching each other and in learning ourselves and elevating young people and each other? Big question.
Big question, and I appreciate it. But I think that the focus is that you can train yourself to see the opportunity in every problem. And working with the Economics Fundamental Initiative, who specializes in translating common sense in those countries that were once under Soviet rule, has opened my eyes that even though you can go through those horrific times where you were suppressed by centrally planned authorities who relied on power and plunder and pillage in order to control the people, you realize that only holds people down for a certain period of time. Even Paul Samuelson, a Nobel laureate in economics, once thought that the Soviet Union's growth is going to surpass that of the United States. He couldn't have been more wrong. And it's because the power of the individual, the nature of our spirit, is one that brings us to the point where, yes, we want to make ourselves better off, but we're also, in some ways, we're community oriented, and we need those interactions with other humans. And it's just in our nature to help ourselves by helping others in meaningful ways, not telling others how we can help them, but, working alongside them, whether it's in personal relationships or it's through markets and you know nothing about the other person. You can just trust that with a few simple rules, respecting each other's person and property is very simple. And as long as you don't bring harm or hurt to others intentionally, and you abide by these few simple rules with a limited government that serves as the enforcer of those who break the rules, it's beautiful. And you get the things that you imagine, but equally as important, you get the things that you don't imagine. And that's where the Economics Olympiad inspires me, as well as that Economics Fundamental Initiative and the translation of common sense into 11 other Eastern European and Central Asian languages. It's just, it's the unknown that excites me. And I think that that's where we have to have faith that in the human spirit, and this is what, you do in your podcast, is, relying on Adam Smith and understanding that we have a commercial life, but most of our life is spent in the other part, the human life, with morals and ethics that guide us in ways that are meaningful. And for the most part, as we look at modern society, very helpful in eradicating poverty, improving the way we live. I can't imagine living even 100 years ago in a world that didn't have some of the innovations and the technologies that we take for granted today. So, yeah, I'm optimistic. And Martina?
Yes, that's great. I would say that with young people, it's like so easy and fast to make them and have them understand the basic economic principles, like opportunity cost, right? Like if I give something to someone, maybe as a government, it had to be taken from somewhere, and it's like so it's usually said only as the the government gave this to the certain group of people, and if the society would understand the basic economic principles, they would ask, okay, that's nice, where this was taken from. And so I think like really understanding basic economic principles takes just a few lessons and just a few basic economics book, right? And people, it's really like easy to teach them that, and they get excited about it.
Yeah.
And they get excited about it and really hard. And yeah, so I think like the basic economic principles, there's like few of them that are super important and are game changers in young people understanding the world. And really like it changes you to understand these things.
So to carry on with what she's saying, because she's having a hiccup right now, I do think that she has a great point. It really does take a few fundamental principles to understand economics, and then to bring it into a variety of spaces that help people understand, especially these young minds, how markets work, how their own relationships work, and why it's important to think carefully about the decisions you make. And we go back to the importance of starting in high school. Yes, it'd be nice to start in middle school, but right now the focus is in high school. At the school level, everything relies on common sense. And as she said very well, opportunity costs, incentives, just marginal thinking, things like this. At the beginning, it sounds overwhelming, but then once you interact with these ideas through common sense or some of the multimedia assets that we have, you realize, oh, this is just a part of my everyday life.
I love that. I mean, that's the point, isn't it? To empower people with the glasses of economics so that they can see into the everyday and see more than they saw before, and to do something about that. Or to let it inform them.
It's super easy to learn, like it takes just a few lessons or a few pages of common sense economics book to really like learn, for a young person to actually grasp it. And they don't see, as you said, you see the world through the economics glasses, right? The world will never be the same for them once they understand the principles, because they won't forget them. So I think I like to believe that we are changing the young people's view on the world by teaching them economics.
We're making the world better, one student at a time.
And you both are. And thank you so much for that. I have one final question for both of you. And that is, what is one thing that you believed at one time in your life that you later changed your position on, and why?
I can start.
Yeah, please do.
So, I think it's kind of common, but I really was, when I was younger, I was, especially a teenager, I think I realized like this simple solutions on problems, and seeing the world in a super simple lenses, right? Because I think it felt safer. It felt that I know better than other people if I can put things in very clear terms. But I realized after that, the world is like so much more complex. Everyone is different. Everyone has their own history and experience and glasses they're looking at the world. So yeah, for me, I was back then, when I was younger, I was super straightforward, like even economics, if someone wasn't like, if something was anti-economical, maybe like a government policy, or someone was behaving in an irrational way, I was kind of, pissed, or I was like really not liking it and was against it, and like really like maybe occasionally fighting for a different outcome even. And as I got older, I got kind of calm down, and I see there is like more solutions to one problem, and the world is more complex than just one solution to everything and everyone's problem. So yeah, that's how I would say the one thing that I changed in my view of the world.
And for me, I went from being, an aggressive and an active participant in many of the ways that Martina just described. And I think that comes from youth. And as I sat in the auditorium and they were announcing the medalists, especially with the gold, and that young person, that rising 10th grader stepped on that stage, I thought, I'm at the point in my life where I can appreciate what the young people have to offer. And I can watch the dance now with a full understanding that, what's happening is beautiful. And yes, there are going to be some falls. Yes, mistakes are going to be made, but you're not stretching yourself. You're not pushing yourself. Those things don't happen. And even in talking with some of the people who didn't get gold medals, and that was their focus when they arrived, after they got the news that they weren't receiving a gold medal, and they got over the disappointment in themselves, they realized that they could celebrate the wins of the people who actually did get on stage. And that is where I think I'm in my life and in my career. And again, I thank Martina and others for letting me reach a new career height, because I feel that I experienced something that before I'd only heard about. And then once I experienced it, I thought, oh, I'm infected. Now everybody has to do this. This is just incredible. And again, we keep coming back to this, Martina and I. The world is in good hands. It is in the hands of people in unusual places and countries. Look at the Economics Olympiad website and see where these students are coming from. And the people in the top 10 are going to surprise you.
Once again, I'd like to thank my guests for their time and insight. I'd also like to thank you for listening to the Great Antidote podcast. It means a lot. The Great Antidote is sound engineered by Rich Goyette. If you have any questions, any guests, or topic recommendations, please feel free to reach out to me at greatantidote@libertyfund.org. Thank you.